Guys, what if I told you Apple's first real AI product is going to be a robot? It's not crazy. Evidently, it's happening. Let's talk about it.
Welcome to the All Future Podcast, where we talk all things tech, Apple, AI, and such throughout the week. And today we're talking about a bunch of different robots, including ones that are coming from Apple in the future, and ones that we probably could see from Apple in the future. So first, I just want to define a robot, because you talked about a robot in the beginning, and we're talking about an actual confirmed robot, or not confirmed, heavily rumored robot coming from Apple soon. So a good definition that I just saw of a robot is a machine capable of carrying out a complex series of actions automatically, especially ones programmable by a computer. So many people, I think, robot immediately means humanoid form robot or something like that, but it can mean a lot of different things.
Yeah, I like that definition. I'd go with that. I like, and that's well, here's the thing. Let me describe something to you and tell me if this falls in this definition. Okay. It is a HomePod. It has a screen on it. It also has an arm that moves around of its own volition to do things. Maybe just moving the screen around, maybe doing something else. Is that a robot?
Yeah, I think that's a robot.
It feels like to me like it's robotic. But like, is it a robot? I don't know. Like a robot almost has like a personification to it. Like it has some human quality to it, even if it's not a human-shaped robot. Like it has a kind of its own being or something like that. And it's like, oh, like, is this a robot? I don't know. Is the trunk of a Tesla a robot?
I guess it's functioning similarly.
It follows your definition there, right?
Well, but it's not reacting to something. I feel like the arm of this thing we're about to talk about is reacting
to an input, right? Like whether it's its own visual input or whatever.
Yeah.
Is your Tesla a robot because it doesn't hit other cars on the freeway because of its sensors, right? It's controlling itself. Like is that a robot?
It has. I mean, it does have a lot of AI processing capabilities and a lot of cameras that it's processing data. I mean, and it could drive itself. So.
Is my coffee maker a robot that grinds my beans automatically in the morning on
That's
a timer?
Question.
We're getting the weeds here, but I think this is worth talking about a little.
Robot vacuum.
Robot. Oh yeah. I mean, people use robot vacuum all the time, and that's things just bouncing off of walls. Right? That's people use that phrase.
Yeah.
So it's almost like you know it when you see it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if what we're about to describe to you, people would automatically go, "That's a robot." I think it's got some automated movable features. I don't know if it really counts as a robot. And this really all stems from guys like me and you who have extensive HomePod collections. We're HomePod collectors, if you will. Turns out we made a bad investment. Should have bought stamps, coins, I don't know. Anything else would have worked better. Because none of the HomePods currently out available from Apple will have Apple Intelligence.
Yes.
Bummer. That means they got to make something new. Is this thing it?
So the new thing, it hopefully will be this. But essentially, as you're mentioning, HomePods, I think the specifics are that they put the S-series chips in these devices, and they needed to put the A-series chips in to be able to.
Well, they would need at least an A17. I don't think that there's any world where Apple would have put essentially their flagship iPhone's chip in a HomePod, and the RAM as well, right? That's the other piece of it too. So I don't think Apple. They just didn't see the future coming on this one. They didn't. They didn't skate to where the puck is going. Wayne Gretzky, Steve Jobs style, slash Michael Scott style, and so the hardware's not prepped for this at all.
Yeah, definitely not. But that is leading to a lot of rumors that are also based on just this speculation, but also what is going on at Apple of a new smart HomePod coming in the future. So we've talked about this, one that has a screen, and it's just kind of more of like a real smart hub that has a lot more features. My ideal vision of that is that it works as your main hub, and then you can use all your other HomePods, and it talks to those. So you get all these features with all these old HomePods. Please.
I got bad news for you.
But the robot element comes in because apparently this also will have some sort of arm that swings around for things like FaceTime calls to focus in on a particular subject. Like you already see this on FaceTime, I think we called center stage, but it would be another level of it to where you could literally be walking around out of your camera's view and it's going to swing around and keep you in view.
And this is 5, 6, 7, 10-year-old technology, right? I mean, so there's already video conferencing things out there. There's already Facebook / Meta made a thing like this. And there's a ton of others. Like tracking cameras aren't a new thing. So this has got to do more than this, right? Like what is, if we're talking about this device and Apple, we've already said how much Apple's going to charge for this. Can't be cheap.
Yeah.
Right. Got to be pushing above $500 maybe. It's got to do something more than that, right? Can you think of anything? I got nothing. Just to say, I'm not setting you up for failure by telling you my brilliant idea if you don't have one. Like, I'm like, what could this thing do with this robotic arm thing that's going to be like, that's cool and I need this thing?
Yeah. The robotic arm specifically, I can't picture much.
Yeah.
That it's going to, it would have to be some sort of AI thing that it's in scanning your environment or enabling. I don't know what Apple would enable.
If this thing, what's the use case of this, right? It's sitting in my kitchen. It's my HomePod with the screen. I'm on a FaceTime call with my mom, and I move to the other side of the counter, and it follows me, I guess.
$700.
Yeah, I'm like, I can just, boom, I just solved the problem. I'm turning the HomePod. That's me turning the HomePod.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I don't need a robot to do this for me. It's got to offer something more than that. And that's why me thinks like we don't fully understand what this rumor is.
Yeah.
I think this is an example of leaks coming from certain departments, which happens all the time, right? The engineering guy's like, hey, I'm working on this thing. And they're seeing the tiniest piece of it, right? I think about, I don't know if we ever talked about the Star Wars show Andor, which is, I think, the only good modern Star Wars. It's a brilliant show. You should totally check it out. They're like in this prison camp, like building parts of the Death Star. And you see that they're building like the most tiny, and they don't even know what they're doing, right? They're building the most tiny, insignificant thing. So what would be the rumors that came out of that place? They're like, I don't know, man. We're building a death ray, I guess. You know, so that's what's happening here. There's got to be something more to it than this, or this product is kind of DOA in my mind.
I kind of agree, but yeah, there must be something that they're not showing us, or this is just in the very early experimentation phases where they're going, oh, what if this arm can move around, and then they'll soon ditch it for cost or whatever. Yeah, I'm not sure. But another thing, when we're talking like home hub like this, the Apple TV could maybe see an upgrade in this way because that already has a decent amount of capability and functionality, and you can do a lot of home controls. So maybe we see that further upgraded with Apple Intelligence level computing.
They're going to have to, right? So if for you guys who are maybe not weirdos like me and Ryan, super into HomeKit stuff, right? You can assign a hub device in your house, which acts as the relay to other devices so that you can remote smart control your home. Now imagine I'm in a house that has a hybrid of Apple Intelligence devices and pre-Apple Intelligence devices. Every HomePod that exists now, your hub is going to need to be an Apple Intelligence device, then, right? Like you're gonna need something that it can control everything and run it. And right now, the Apple TV has been the perfect kind of home hub device, because it's always plugged in, it's always on, it's not moving anywhere. It's great for having that operate as your hub, but you're going to need something else now.
Yeah, I'm excited to see that. Hopefully we get a lot of these things. It's going to be in time.
We're going to have to buy the $400 Apple Intelligence-enabled Apple TV. This other thing, all the cost of this stuff is all going to go up, because right now they basically put the lowest cost chip and RAM that they can into all these devices. And now they're like, oh, well, this thing is going to need to have iPhone level chips and RAM in order to do Apple Intelligence on board, which is what we want. And as far as we know now, the only way this stuff will work. So, yeah, all this stuff is going to go up in cost, I think.
Yeah, that's kind of how it goes right now.
It's just, c'est la vie, guys. That's life. What are you going to do?
And just everything's getting more expensive all around us. And in ways that make sense, but also it's just like, oh, man. Now I can't even get just a basic version of this thing. I have to get the Apple Intelligence version. And I want it. I want the Apple Intelligence version, but man, okay, now I need to pay for this processor and this bigger battery and all of these things. They all add up. But that is the rumor of what Apple is actually working on right now and planning to bring at some point in the future. But there's a lot of other robots out there giving us examples of what Apple could be delivering or other companies could be delivering in the future. So the first one is we got an example of the Amazon Digit robot, which is its like kind of humanoid form robot made for work, and it's working around a factory and actually moving things around. and seems to be doing a decent job. It's very slow, which I think is going to be the case with all of these initial runs of these robots being used in factories, but it's actually doing the work that you would see a person working in basically any level of production would be having to do this. So seeing it replaced by a robot is good and bad.
Yeah, this is just another one of these industrial humanoid robots designed to replace the workforce at some point. So, cool. I mean, Amazon already has heavy robotics integration across their warehouse systems, you know. I imagine they're just going to keep investing in this more and more and more. And yeah, we'll see if this ever actually translates into a consumer product from them. Because they do have I was going to say they do have a consumer robot, but I think the correct thing to say was they did have a consumer robot. Because that's our next topic is Astro going out of business, I guess.
Yeah, so this is actually specific for the business one that they're completely canceling.
Okay.
Technically, you can still get on a waiting list for the consumer version, but if they're completely wiping out the business version, it seems like it's only a matter of time before this entire thing is gone. This is their like Wall-E-style guard robot, and on September 25th, all Astro for business robots will just completely cease working. And
so they're just bricking. They're not like, oh, we're not making it anymore. They're like, we're shutting down the servers that this thing operates from.
Yeah. But they are giving full refunds of the price, which was $2,349.99.
Oh, yeah.
And they're giving them a $300 credit per robot. So some company out there is about to get a bunch of refunds and potentially see something that they were using go out the window, but maybe just be like, great, this thing was useless. Take it back.
Yeah. When a Ring Cam costs $99 and I can set up a lot of them for how much this robot cost, why do I need the robot roaming around looking at things? It's like, I could just say it's like almost like a comedy, right? They're in the security office. Oh, the alarm got tripped in the server room. Hold up, let me drive Astro there. Yeah, it's like, wait, couldn't we have just installed cameras there?
And then they just kick it, and it's
and it just falls over. Yeah, this thing's a disaster. I can't imagine. I don't even like who is buying this thing, man. Like even at the only people I know who bought one are YouTubers who just wanted to make videos about it, right? I don't know anyone who seriously uses it.
And one of them just returned it, right? It was one of the only things he returned.
Yes. Austin Evan bought one of these for Mystery Tech, and when he was telling me about it, he's like, man, we buy some stupid stuff, stupid expensive things. This is one of the only things I returned. like that's how useless it was.
Yeah.
Is that they've kept like, I don't know, like robotic water guns over there, like things that no one's ever going to use. And they're like, maybe we'll need it one day. This thing, they're like, get out of here. It's total waste.
Yeah. Apparently, it's not the complete end of this program, though. They are ending the business side because they see more of a focus on home robotics being important for this kind of tech. And then they are rumored to be working on a new version with conversational generative AI. So that totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Just it needs to be more AI focused.
Yeah, it's actually going to be an ideal babysitter when it has that, right? You stick that robot in front of your kids, it talks to them. You don't have to actually interact with your children. Everybody's winning here, I think.
Yeah, everybody. Those kids are definitely winning.
No problems at all there. Yeah.
Next is the IHMC humanoid robot with VR teleoperation is the operational word there. Sorry, that was
the
rough.
operational word.
That doesn't make any sense.
I got what you meant. I got it.
But this one's pretty interesting because it's a robot playing ping pong with a guy. And at first I was like, wow, that's pretty impressive. And then you look in the background, you're like, wait, there's a guy controlling this. Oh, that's what they're demoing. This is actually impressive. And so they're demoing super low latency for controlling robots. And this just gives us a peek into kind of a crazy, like Ready Player One type of future.
The second you see this, that's what you think is, oh, they're going to make soldiers out of this thing, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So he's playing ping pong decently well. And it's because there's a human controlling this robot in real time. And this is the kind of thing where we see this going into the future where you have robots in these environments, but the generative AI or whatever is not good enough yet to where it can fully handle the situation. You still need a human, but this eliminates that risk of the human being there or allows... I mean, it allows a lot of things. It could allow you to pay the people less. It could allow them to work from home, not have to commute, not put themselves in a dangerous situation.
You work in a factory, but it's just from your living room every day. You go in and put your VR headset on, and like you you're assembling whatever shoes. It's like that's wildly dystopian and crazy. But yeah, it totally could happen.
It could allow you to, if a factory's like in an expensive area, you could not have to commute, so you could live in a very cheap area and then have your job.
Crazy things, right? Because you build the factory in America, you get all the tax breaks from doing whatever chip manufacturing in the United States. None of your workforce is here, though.
Yeah.
There's a warehouse in Thailand with dudes in VR suits that are working robots in America. You could technically put "Made in America" on your product. Oh man, dang man! I was in a good mood talking about robots, and now this is seeming terrible.
That's unfortunately how most of this stuff goes. Is like the initial pitch is like, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
We can work from anywhere.
Yeah.
I could literally not even have to go into this job, but I can still do this physical thing. But then it's like, oh, but if you play that out to fruition,
it gets bad.
It gets bad.
There are some good stuff, right? Robot fireman, right? I think it's stuff like that, right? You can send this thing into a burning building. It's controlled by an actual guy who has experience and knows what he's doing there. I imagine what they're actually going to be is a hybrid between AI controlled and human controlled when these things are actually out there, so that the AI is handling some things and the human can kind of grab it and start doing stuff if they need to.
Yeah.
So there's certainly a lot of cool applications for this technology, and this is a good demo. This is a cool demo to watch. I recommend watching this demo.
Yeah. Did you see this one from Japan, this next one? This is a good example of what you're talking about, like the very positive version of this. This is a giant robot that they're controlling to fix things like and trim tree branches and stuff along railways in Japan. And it's also working with like power cables and stuff, and just stuff that would be dangerous for a human to do or just incredibly difficult for them to get to. A human's controlling this giant robot.
Leave it to Japan to make a weird giant robot. Man, those guys love giant robots over there. Giant robots are cool. I mean, this is, I think, a pretty interesting demo. We're bringing up the video right here. This thing literally looks like a Gundam. You know, right? It's like, what is this with the paint scheme and stuff?
It's so big. It's pretty amazing.
It is. Like, it makes me wonder. Here's where your kind of theory of it's good to make humanoid style robots because they fit into our world kind of just goes out the window. And they're just making this thing look like a human because they can. Because it doesn't make any sense to make this thing humanoid-esque, right?
It's like the Iron Giant. Like,
yeah.
It's that not quite that big, but it's big.
There's what's this movie called? Real Steel. Hugh Jackman's in it, and it's like boxing, but robots box and humans are controlling them. That's what it kind of looks like. One of those robots. Its eyes and face look like a classic robot movie from the 80s, Short Circuit. Do you know this one?
Yeah.
Johnny Five, man. That's what this thing looks like on the top. It looks like Johnny Five. I'm watching it with the tree trimmers right now. This looks like some kind of death metal apocalyptic thing. But pretty cool, and seems safer than like trimming trees from helicopters and stuff. Something we do now. So
we trim trees from helicopters.
Oh yeah, you guys should look this up. They put these big like chainsaw-like devices hanging from helicopters, and you fly it along like the railroad line, and it cuts all the trees down.
Wow.
Yeah, it is wild. Yeah. So
Japan apparently is figuring this out.
Japan's got to figure it out on this one. I figured they had a terrible robot a couple weeks ago. You redeemed yourself, Japan. Love this robot.
So we got from Amazon Astro to VR robots, and then this is kind of a VR robot controlled that's in a very big use case. Now, how can you see that kind of thing relating to Apple? This giant production railway tree trimming thing.
Do you have an answer right now?
No, I want
you're
you to
pitching it to me.
I want you to go for it.
I like this game Ryan plays sometimes where he gives me this like insane kind of setup, and he's like, "I'm sure Matt will come up with something."
He usually does.
Yeah. So if we're talking about this giant thing, here's what we don't know: the combination of AI and robotics. Where is this path going to go on the consumer side? It is completely unknown to us. Go back in history and look at kind of transformational technologies and see how people interpreted how we would use them, right? The second there's, workable rotary aircraft, like helicopter type stuff, everyone's like, flying cars. We're definitely going to have that. Flying cars, right? Because it turns out that was not a good application of technology for a number of reasons, right? And that's what I think we're going to see with things like giant robots or any robot, any size, and all the AI stuff, is that we can kind of use we're all making things based on what the problems we face now and what we have now and what works for consumers now. We don't know where this is going to head. So I'm not like, your knee-jerk reaction is like, why would Apple make a giant robot? It's like, we don't know. Like it could be solving a problem that we don't know exists yet, right? And they could figure out a way to make our lives better, or a way to convince us that this makes our lives better that we just don't know about yet.
Yeah.
When we talk about that yard work kind of robot, probably a 9-10 foot robot's better for that, right? Than like a kind of a 2 meter tall kind of robot or something smaller.
Yeah.
So yeah, my answer is I don't know what Apple will do with this. Here's what I'm confident in though, is that they absolutely have research divisions and guys that think about this sort of stuff. And they're thinking about two things: what problems can we solve and how can we make money from it?
Yeah.
And if there's a way to do that, these companies are going to figure it out.
Yeah, and Apple's a very consumer-facing company to where they make a lot of products that we can all get and make sense for us. But we could see them branch further in. The more they're diving in on robotics and the more they see something like this and they're like, oh, what if we made that for this industry and we can actually apply this tech we already have? And then it makes sense. Consumers aren't buying these products, but it helps them grow their business in ways outside of what we're usually seeing. I could definitely see that happening for them in the future. An example that I think of is Tesla right now. Their energy business is like growing a ton with their Megapack, which is this giant like grid level storage battery. So that's only for like power companies and like big countries buying these things to store up solar electricity during the day, so then you can use it off peak and stuff like that. Or you can use it at night, actually on peak when the sun isn't shining and all that stuff. But that's a big part of their business, but I'm never buying a Megapack. These are millions of dollars of batteries.
That'd be cool, man.
You know, but it's cool because you're seeing that, and then you could see that kind of thing, that kind of business aspect coming from Apple in the future, I think, as they expand and develop all this new technology that we're not used to seeing from them.
Absolutely.